Hello humans, it's Carla. I am here today in my sunny backyard in Brooklyn where spring has sprung and the birds are a-chirping and the grill is lit. Today I'm going to be making crispy, smoky rice from the grilling chapter of That Sounds So Good, a book to which I devoted an entire chapter to grilling because cooking and the fire and the outdoors is my personal happy place. Get grilling, heat it up, we're on fire. This recipe has very few ingredients, but there are a couple of things that you need to do ahead of time. One is you want to start with already cooked rice. So you can cook that yourself. I have a recipe in chapter 11 for how to make a perfect pot of rice. You could buy the rice from a takeout place. You could use short grain rice, long grain rice. You just need about 3 cups of cooked rice. The other thing happening is that my grill is already hot and I've got a cast iron skillet heating up there. If you have never set up a grill before, I have a video for that, so you can watch that before you get set up. But this is over medium direct heat. I'm gonna get into these mushrooms. I'm using shiitakes. Make sure you save your stems and use those for mushroom stock. Just cutting about 1/4 inch thick. You can really use any mushroom you want to use. Creminis would be great. If you had oyster mushrooms, they would also be delicious. I really love shiitakes and their texture and flavor. They're super easy to get. And I love also that this dish is vegetarian. I think when people think about grilling, they think about big pieces of meat or ribs or burgers, and vegetarian food is delicious on the grill as long as it's not a terrible, sad kebab, which I would never make. So now that these are cut, my rice is cooked, that pan is hot, it is time to go feet to the flame. Jumping in, fire starter. Hot pan, that's what I would like to see. Mushrooms will absorb quite a bit of oil when they first get in there. That was about 3 tablespoons, who can say? Already smell delicious mushroom flavors. And it looks like a lot, but they shrink. I think people think about grilling, they think a couple things. One is they think about very high heat and big flames jumping all over the place. I am a big lover of a medium flame. You have a lot of control. Things are happening a little more slowly. You have time to react. And in this case, I want to give the mushrooms time to brown and soften and caramelize instead of just burning immediately. I think another thing that people think, and I hope maybe not so much anymore, but when people think about grilling, they think about like the dad trope and that it's the dad who's grilling, or the pitmaster is always a dude. And I grew up in a household where the matriarch was manning the fire, and to me that was totally normal. I have amazing, very sweet memories of my mom standing out by her Weber grill with a pair of tongs in one hand and smoke around her, and I just thought that it was the coolest thing. I thought she was so cool. I have always loved grilling because of her from very early on. It's just really cool and fun and exciting to me. Also, I think this is a true stereotype about grilling, is that people grill so that they can go be alone. Maybe you're having a barbecue and people are coming over, but grilling is also a way to get like out of the kitchen and have a little time with nature and commune with your ingredients and birds, you know? Right? I see beautiful browning. These look a little dry. You see that your mushrooms have absorbed the oil and they feel like they're charring. Do not hesitate, just add more oil. I think that's the guy who wakes me up in the morning. He's the guy. It's like 2 tweeps and then like 10 little tweeps. This is also the time of year when my cat Jeffrey will start showing up with birds. Dead birds. So these have cooked to the point where they still look juicy and they've got texture to them, but the brown parts are around the color of like a brown paper bag or a roast potato, which is very beautiful to me. I'm gonna add the tomato paste. Tomatoes and mushrooms are delicious together. The concentrated tomato paste is also like a very reduced, sweet, savory umami flavor. and it's gonna coat both the mushrooms and also the rice. Tomato paste, because it is concentrated and it's a fruit, it will burn if you don't keep an eye on it. So once the tomato paste is in there, make sure you're stirring for a couple of minutes. I just wanna see the color darken a tad and coat the mushrooms. So now they have this kind of amazing sun-dried tomato, burnished, orangey red, and I can smell all of that tomato aroma. Next step is just adding more oil to coat the rice. The recipe says about 4 tablespoons at this point. It's gonna look like a lot until the rice gets in there. Oops. The reason I'm using day-old rice for this is the same reason you would use day-old rice for any stir fry. Having the rice dried out and cool means that once it's in the pan, it's not just gonna get mushy and stick. So the grains are gonna stay individuated. I can coat them. They're gonna crisp a lot better because some of their moisture has dissipated overnight. So the goal here is to coat all of the grains of rice with both oil and some of the tomato paste. All right, everything looks pretty well coated to me. I'm gonna season with a little more salt. And this would be delicious just the way it is if you wanted like fluffy, warm rice. That's fine. You can have fluffy, warm rice. I want crispy caramelized rice that's gonna be really brown and burnished on the underside, and then fluffy and steamed and delicate on the top side. So in order to get that, I have to press it into the pan really well and keep cooking it so that the underside has time to crisp up and dry out and get brown. So I'm pulling the pan back towards me because when my hand is over here, the fire from underneath is quite hot. You know, people tell you like to be careful drinking before you go swimming, but they never really talk about drinking before grilling or smoking before grilling, because you can make a lot of errors when you do that. So you want to just, you know, stay alert. Everybody is pressed in and pressed down. I'm using a spatula, obviously, and just really packing it in there. Once it's in, I don't want to mess with it. So it's about compacting it, compressing it, smashing it, bashing it, making sure the mushrooms are kind of distributed. So as this cooks, I'm going to keep moving it around to make sure it's getting even heat underneath. I will occasionally come back in, give everybody a press. And this is the thing, every time I'm pressing something now, half of you are saying, why didn't you use the pressy downy? The other half of you are saying, that pressy downy is so damn expensive, how come she's always using the pressy downy? So I just can't win. I love to press down. You can press down with your spatula. You can press down with your pressy downy. We just love to press down in this house. Do you feel pressed upon, or do you feel like impressing other people? Do you like press-on nails, or do you dress to impress? If you have been oppressed, but you would like to oppress for the next stage of your life, may I recommend the Oppressor. This is my grilling tool that can come in handy any old time. You want to spatchcock something, you want to press something down, you want to throw it at an intruder, the Oppressor is here to save the day. Go to daddypasta.com. $6.99 plus shipping. Things I'm looking for as this was just passively cooking, doing its thing, is browning around the edge. The rice that is sort of sitting right against the edge of the pan is going to start browning sooner because it's exposed, it's getting the heat directly on it, but it's so kind of together now and it wants to move as one piece, which is another sign that it's brown on the underside and holding together. And I'm going to resist the urge to turn it over and get the other side brown because I want something that is both crispy and fluffy and dried and caramelized, but also sweet and steamy. So it's lots of different textures with kind of one basic technique. And the more I sort of flip and move the rice around, the more it's gonna dry out. So I don't want like rice bark. I want crispy rice that you know is crispy because it's right next to steamy, fluffy. Contrast. and reveal. This is gonna come off the heat. Letting the rice sit for a few minutes will bring it together, is also pulling away from the sides of the skillet, which is fantastic. It means it's gonna release. You can just invert it. It's so crispy, making delicious crispy sounds. It's a gorgeous orange color. It's got the beautiful browned mushrooms. What I like to do is go in with a spoon, break it into big pieces, and then flip these over. So you get a mix of the brown pieces and the steamy orangey pieces, and everybody can see everything they're gonna get. Last little thing to do, and this is more umami, it goes so well with the smoke, is a few drizzles of soy sauce. And this is obviously like adding salt and seasoning, but that malty caramelized flavor of the soy with the smoke, with the mushrooms, with the rice is a truly beautiful thing. I do love grilling for all of the reasons. I love being outside. I love channeling the energy of my mom. And I love some of the birds, and I like cooking for other people. I also like cooking alone. And today I actually get to eat alone, which is kind of the best of all of the worlds, because I love rice maybe more than any other ingredient on planet Earth. The perfect bite. Crispy, mushroom, fluffy, tomatoey, oily, burnished, splashed. So crunchy. So fluffy. So individuated, you know? We don't compliment food for being individuated often enough. I don't care if you're at the beach, campfire, backyard, front yard, friend's house. Maybe you were even indoors. Get out there, people. 'Tis the season. Go grill some rice.